Hey guys, what is up? Continuing along the Bridgestone line today, we are moving into the tour level golf balls for the high swinger. So these are the guys that are going to be your Tiger Woods and your Jason Day and things like that. The guys who are swinging fast and really demand the most out of their golf ball. Today we have the Tour B X, which is going to be the firmer model of the two. Induce a little less spin and get a little more distance. Let's go ahead and dive in. Okay, so before I even get started, let me address the elephant in the room. This golf ball is not made for me. It just isn't. And I mean, if you're someone who is a high swinger and a very low handicap, you might want to check out some other reviews. But I would advise you to still at least listen to the numbers and what I have to say about how the golf ball reacts, because you might learn something. It's always good to get different perspectives. Get the perspective of the tour player, but get the perspective of the average swing guy too, because you never know. It might tell you something that you need to know when looking for a golf ball. But I'm going to be honest, it ain't for me, obviously. I swing 92 mile an hour with my driver, so I'm 13 under the requirement for it. Obviously, it ain't for me, but I still did test it out. I still want to give my thoughts on it. Let's start with, of course, the design, which if you've seen any of the other Bridgestone reviews, basically here's the gist. The B is very simplistic. This one has the maroon number because it is the distance ball. The blue has the spin. And then I hate their alignment tools. This one's even worse because this one actually has the shortest name out of all of them. So the other ones are at least a little bigger, and I hate them, but at least they're a little bigger. This one is like really short and sweet and to the point. I have trouble seeing it all. When I look down at it, I just can't see it that well. But overall, I love their dimple design. It's just very simplistic. I just feel with their alignment tool, they could get a little bit better, do something a little more innovative. So moving in, let's try the chipping and putting. Let's see how this ball reacts. I imagine it'll be a little firmer, but let's see. All right, so on the chipping and putting green out here with the Bridgestone Tour B X, the firmest golf ball they do offer. Now let's start with the feel. Now we're done with all the sponginess. The last few golf balls I've reviewed from Bridgestone were all more of the beginner to like low swinger, mid swinger balls. Now we're in the over 105 range, and there's an obvious click there, which makes sense. There's an obvious click coming off of the wedge. There's an obvious click coming off of the putter. There's no more of that sponge effect where when you hit it, it really bouncy balls off there anymore. It's just a pretty much dead roll, which is what a lot of pros prefer, because it just helps them control the ball better, but it's a little bit worse for guys who are just beginning or they're newer. But again, with the market of this golf ball, I don't think that's going to matter. This golf ball is for professionals. This is for guys who swing very fast and very accurate, so I don't think that'll really be an issue. As far as the checkup goes, it does still check up around the green. It does not check up as much as the RXS did. The RXS almost stopped on a dime. This one does have plenty of tug and pull. I mean, it's very good, but it actually does kind of re-release after that. It doesn't just stop, and I think that's because of the softness. I think the softness of the other one, because it's under 105 mile an hour, I think it just absorbs into the green a little bit better, allowing it to stop, whereas this one being firmer, it kind of bounces a little bit more, and that's why you see that release. But overall, not bad. It still checks up, but it's just not as good as that last one was. Then getting into the putter feel. So the putter feel, again, like I said, it has that click to it. It rolls true, it rolls good, and I mean, it still comes off the club nice, but there's no more of the spongy effect. So, I mean, it's pretty much as true roll as true can get. So overall, still a great experience. Bridgestone around the greens have been phenomenal. This one is no different. It's just not the ball for me, really. It's not, suited to my game. So it is a little weird testing it. But if you're someone in this range, I think you'll find it exactly what you're looking for. It was consistent throughout, which I think is what a lot of guys are looking for. Okay, so no surprise there. So let's go ahead and go into the numbers here. Let's see how we did. So starting out with the 9-iron, 89.6. Very low there, 123.6 on the distance, 116.3 on the carry, and then 19.4 on the launch. So the launch ended up being a little lower of a launch for sure. Definitely the second lowest I have tested. So it's definitely a lower launch. And then I did lose a little bit of distance as well, just because, again, it's very firm. This golf ball is firm, firm, firm. This reminds me of your TP5X. This reminds me of something that it's going to feel rockish to the average player, and especially if you mishit it. If you mishit it, there's no forgiveness with this golf ball. Now, I will say that if you hit it flush, you don't lose any distance. I mean, I was able to hit it flush a couple of times and really get the ball to travel out there, but you hit it anywhere other than the center of the face and you don't have a fast swing speed, it ain't going to forgive you. And that's why it's meant for over 105, is for that reason. That's why those numbers are low. Not necessarily because the golf ball's terrible or just because it's not meant for me, but also for the simple fact that there's just no forgiveness there because this golf ball is meant for some of the best players in the world, which is why if you're someone who is not a consistent iron striker, a lot of these tour golf balls aren't going to be for you in the first place. Moving into the 7 iron, we've got 6,544, which is a medium amount of spin. That's not bad. 104.6, that's very low with the 7 iron, one of the lowest I've tested. 157.3 on your total distance, and then 145 with the carry. So those numbers they're just slightly low. Those numbers actually aren't as low as I thought, so it did compress better with the 7 iron, but it still is on the lower end just because it ain't meant for me. But what I will say is, again, the bigger club you go, your 7 iron, your 5, your 4, when you miss-hit it, it's going to sting. I mean, it really does. It feels really stingish off. It's a very firm golf ball, and it reminds me a lot of the TP5X. It really does, because the TP5X can either feel like butter or it can feel like you just hit a boulder. It just all depends on where you hit it on the club face, and this is exactly what that reminds me of. The 18.5 mile an hour, or the 18.5 launch degree on the 7 iron also was about a medium high, somewhere in there, ball flight too. So I expected it to launch very low, but it didn't. It actually launched pretty decently high, so maybe that's also why I got a little more spin too, but I actually did like that number. That's impressive. Most of these Tour X golf balls focus on being low launch so much that I end up just getting abysmal numbers with them. I mean, bottom dollar. Getting into the 5 hybrid, you're looking at 3,717 on the spin. Very low spin, so now we're getting into the low spin numbers here, maybe a little more compression. 114.7 is your ball mile per hour speed, which is very low. 190.2 on the distance, which is low. It's not very low, but it's low. And then 174.9, again, on the low side, low to average, and then a 13.7 mile an hour flight, which is low average, low mid, somewhere in there. So again, a little lower there. Nothing spectacular there. I kind of expected to see that. That's kind of what these X golf balls are designed to do, so it doesn't surprise me. And then getting into the driver, again, I expect the driver to be unforgiving as well. I do have the most forgiving driver rated by my Golf Spy for this year, the Mizuno, but again, when you have a golf ball that's unforgiving, that doesn't really matter. But let's see how these numbers are. 2,790 on the spin, which is a good number. That's low. It's low average, somewhere in there. 238.5 on your total distance. 132.4, 217.6. All those numbers are low, and I expected them to be. Again, it's not the golf ball's fault. It's just not meant for me. But what I was impressed with is that it did have, an average ball flight. Again, I expected it to be really low. I did the Vice Pro, I did a Vice golf ball recently, and it was extremely low. It was way lower than that. So the fact that this one was able to get a close to mid ball flight, I was impressed with. So I do think that if you have a fast swing, I think you're going to be able to get tons of distance out of it, because instead of having a low ball flight like most of these do, this one actually was able to still keep in the air without getting so much in the air it's just going to balloon out. So that's a really impressive number. Durability-wise, I really tested it to the core, hit lots of shots with it, and it held up for the most part. I mean, you can see the red that came off there, and there are some scuffs here and there, but if you feel the golf ball, it honestly feels pretty good. I mean, I don't foresee there being any issue at all. I would give this, despite how it looks, just based on how it feels, I'd give it probably a 4.5 out of 5 on the durability. It definitely would last you through 18. I would even play it halfway into my second round and still feel comfortable, depending on how many trees you hit or cart paths or whatever. But it's really impressive. They did a good job with it, and the golf dot came off just a little bit there. But again, it's such a firm golf ball, I'm sure it had something to do with my swing. So overall, a very good durability. Bridgestone actually has done a great job of this the whole time, so it didn't surprise me. So getting into would I recommend it, is it worthy of a recommendation from me? Who's the market for? Well, again, it's tough. I'm going to pretend for a second that I am in the mind of someone who swings 105 miles per hour. And I'm looking for a great tour ball that's going to give me everything I want. It's not a bad golf ball. I imagine it would perform really well. Overall, you can just tell that the engineering of the golf ball is top-notch. Bridgestone really does have some top-notch engineers, and you can just tell by the way the ball looks, feels, and performs. My only issue is, again, and if you've seen my other ones, it's the $49.99 price tag. That's really what it comes down to. And it's not just me that believes that. I know you guys, a lot of you believe that too. I've seen it in the comments. You guys just can't justify paying $49.99, and I don't blame you, and that's the issue. The Vice Pro Plus is an amazing golf ball. for $35. So, you know, would it be worth it to save $15 and perform with that golf ball? Absolutely. I think you're going to get just as good numbers. Even if you just take a small step down, who cares? For $15 less, you ain't going to notice it. And I mean, if you are going to notice it, you won't be watching this channel. You'll be playing in PGA, you'll be playing in amateur tournaments, you'll be qualifying for the Open. So ultimately, it's just tough. It's a tough market. You got to be able, you're asking basically a market of someone who swings the golf club extremely fast, is an extremely consistent iron striker, and plays the game better than the top 1% in the world. And I just think that's such a small market. So overall, it's tough for me to recommend it. If you love Bridgestone and you're a fast swinger and you need a little more distance and less spin, here you go. But other than that, there's a lot of other golf balls out there I think that would suit you better. Guys, as always, keep watching to keep saving, keep learning, and until next time.